Hi, I'm Pax, and in this video, we're going to integrate your guitar modular into your studio setup the right way. But first, let's get on the same page. A typical digital studio setup centers around an audio interface or a huge digital mixer interface. It connects your microphones, instruments, and studio monitors to your PC or Mac, and this serves as your system's main audio input and output with low latency playback. Now, a guitar modular, on the other hand, is a dedicated tone processor designed specifically for guitars and bass. And in the past, if you wanted to record from your modular, you'd run its analog output into your interface's input, capturing just the wet signal, just like miking an amp. But with modern units like the Quad Cortex, Hoton Ampero, or Valiton GP200, that has changed. Most modulars nowadays also have a built-in USB audio interface functionality, allowing you to send audio straight to your computer. And not just one signal. Most can send both wet and dry stereo tracks, giving you transparent tone and full reamping flexibility. And with your studio monitors plugged directly to your modular, you'll get zero latency playback, every guitar player's dream. So now you might be wondering, if the modular can act as an audio interface, do I still need a separate one? Well, here's the thing. While modulars are excellent at guitar tone processing, they're not built for full production workflows. They often lack proper mic inputs, they maxed out at 48 kHz sample rate, and they struggle with latency and stability as your sessions get more complex. So no, modulars can't fully replace a dedicated interface yet, especially if you're using something with 8 to 16 inputs for larger recording setups. So to get the best of both worlds, you'll likely need to run two audio interfaces, one for production and your modular for tracking guitars. And that's where the real problem shows up. See, most of us rely on a single pair of studio monitors for accurate reference, right? So switching between devices means constantly rerouting the cables from your studio monitors just to hear your audio. It's messy, it's frustrating, and it kills your flow. It's a modern problem that definitely requires a modern solution. Luckily, there's a simple, affordable fix that lets you keep both devices plugged into your PC and switch between them instantly without touching a single cable. And that, my friends, is the Mackie Big Knob Passive. Before we jump into the fix, here's something to level up your monitoring game. Whether you're mixing, editing, or just vibing to music after a long session, if you want clear, punchy, and reliable sound, that's where the Mackie CR5B comes in. These 5-inch studio monitors deliver powerful balanced sound with Bluetooth connectivity, so you can switch between wired and wireless playback in seconds. With a slick design, front panel volume control, and pro-grade acoustic clarity, they're perfect for creators who want flexibility without compromising studio quality. And it's not that expensive. Check the link below. And now, let's get back to solving our setup. This is the Mackie Big Knob Passive. It's a simple piece of gear, but it solves our major workflow bottleneck. It's a passive monitor controller that lets you connect two audio sources and switch between them with a single press of this button. That's it, and it changes everything. Let's set it up. So you'll need TRS cables for the cleanest signal. One pair goes from your audio interface's output to Big Knob's input channel A. And then another pair goes from your modular's output to input channel B. And finally, a pair goes from the Big Knob's output to your studio monitors. Next, connect both audio interface and the modular to your PC via USB at the same time. And that's it. No more unplugging, no more device swapping. Everything stays connected all the time. Let me show you how the system works. So the Big Knob, as the name suggests, there's a big volume knob in the center. I usually leave mine cranked and control the levels from my modular or interface. That way, way I avoid wearing out the potentiometer. But if you want, you can calibrate both sources to the same level and use this big knob for global volume. On the back of the unit, as you've seen earlier, there are two stereo input pairs. Channel A, I use this for my interface, and channel B for my modeler. And then for the output, there are actually two because you can connect two pairs of studio monitors here. Originally, the big knob is actually meant as a studio monitor AB switcher. That is, if you have two pairs of studio monitors and you want to check how your mix sounds on a different speaker, just press this monitor select switch. So if you are an audio engineer, this instantly becomes a huge part of your toolset. But for us guitarists with modulars, the source switcher is what we are after because most of us only have one set of monitors and we literally have two sources. Simple and fast. Alright, let's head to our computer's sound settings. Set your audio interface as the default playback device. Then when it's time to jam, just flip the source select to input B and instantly monitor your modular through your speakers. Keep in mind though, all the system audio like your DAW, your browser, Spotify still routes through the interface, so if you're gonna play a YouTube video, you will hear no sound. But if you want to hear your YouTube or Spotify, that's when you will need to switch your system audio output to your modular.
With the MC6 Pro as a MIDI controller for your network.
Now when you're ready to record guitar using the guitar modular as your audio interface, here's what you need to do. In your DAW, switch the audio device to the modular. In my case, that's the Quad Cortex. Your DAW will now access the modular's inputs and outputs. If you're using TRS cables for your Quad Cortex's monitoring output as I recommended, make sure to assign an additional hardware output to channels 3 and 4 in your DAW. However, keep channels 1 and 2 active as well since most audio interfaces use those as their main outputs. This way, switching back to your interface later will be seamless. Now remember, the real reason why we want this setup is to get both wet and dry signals from the modular so we can reamp later. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry, I'll show you. As I've said earlier, most modulars nowadays support wet and dry USB audio output. For the Quad Cortex, here's the routing. Inputs 1 and 2 is the dry DI signal. In Reaper, just create a monotrack and select input 1 or 2. Well, in my case, I plug my guitars in input 1, so I choose input 1. For the wet stereo output, you have to set that first in your modular. On the Quad Cortex, I set the output to multi-out, which sends the processed wet audio to both the speaker outputs and the digital output on USB channels 3 and 4. Next, back in Reaper, create a stereo track and set the input source to the same channel USB 3-4. Done! Now you have both wet and dry signals ready to go. Take note when tracking, make sure to turn off any monitoring in Reaper. This prevents it from clashing the direct monitoring coming from your modular's analog output. Now you have both wet and dry signals. If you're using a different modular, the process and routing is generally the same. The USB channels might just be labeled differently. Now for the fun part, reamping. In Reaper, first you have to mute your wet signal track, keep that as a backup. Now we're ready to create a new tone from the dry DI track. Take your DI track and add the hardware send to one of your modular's digital USB inputs. I use USB input 5 for convenience. Then on the Quad Cortex, set the input source to match the same channel, so I'll choose USB input 5. Now back in Reaper, it's very important to set the DI track's hardware send to pre-fader. This lets you turn the DI track's fader all the way down so you don't hear it while you are reamping, but your DAW is still sending it at full volume to your modular. Now, to record this reamped audio signal, create a new stereo track in Reaper and set its input source to USB 3.4 from the quad cortex, just like what we did with the original wet track earlier. And again, make sure monitoring is always turned off in your DAW. Now, the dry track gets resent to the quad cortex where you can reprocess it with any preset or tone you want. Usually, I select a section to loop for easy reference. Now, you can swap amps, add effects like overdrive, delay, or reverb, and dial in the sound you want. And once you're happy with the tone, just hit record, and now you've captured a brand new reamped wet signal ready to be mixed into your session. That is what you've been missing by not using your modular as an audio interface. It's very cool, right? Now, when you're done recording and you're ready to mix your tracks, just switch your DAW's audio device back to your main interface for low latency editing and mixing. Don't forget to press the source select so that you will hear the sound of your audio interface through the monitor speakers. Very easy, right? So other features of the big knobs are the mono, sum, mute, and dim, because again, you can use this as your studio monitor AB switcher. Now, the big knob needs no power supply because it has passive circuitry, it has transparent audio, and almost no coloration, but there's a slight dip in volume, so you have to compensate a bit to your studio monitor's master volume. The body is made of metal, so it's compact and roadworthy. And that's it. With this setup, we finally get the best of both worlds. We have our mic and DI recording as well as low latency performance from our audio interface and our zero latency tones and reamping from our modular. All possible with the seamless switching of the Mackie Big Knob passive. Now, if you want an even cleaner all-in-one solution, there's actually another option. This is the Mackie Big Knob Studio. It's an audio interface with a built-in AB switcher. Honestly, I'd love to switch to this, but since most of the samples and guitar tracks on this channel were recorded using my Audient ID14, that is my main audio interface. Actually, this Focusrite is just for demo. So yeah, I'm kind of tied up to this setup for consistency. But if you're starting from scratch and you already own a modular, this is the interface I'd recommend you to start with. Alright, I hope this video helped you, and if it did, drop a like, maybe subscribe, and let me know in the comments what gear you're using or struggling to integrate. Happy gas! Ako si Pax, hanggang sa muli, tugtog lang!